What if you could find brand new worlds right here on Earth, where anything is possible? Same planet, different dimension. I found the gateway.
The Rewatch podcast presents the Sliders Rewatch, dedicated to the series Sliders on Fox and Sci-Fi Channel. Join us each week as we continue crossing the Einstein-Rosen-Podolsky Bridge and find ourselves in strange new worlds. Email your thoughts on each episode to the rewatchpodcast@gmail.com. Join us on Facebook at facebook.com/rewatchpodcast or on Twitter @rewatchpod.
And welcome back to the Rewatch Podcast and our Sliders Rewatch. I'm Cory.
And I'm Monique Mansfield. Want to rub some oil on my back, Cory?
Ooh, yeah.
There you go. More sound effects. I should have gotten some porn.
I'm here to clean the pool.
I can't reach this spot on my back.
Okay, thank you for joining us, everyone. We are here, of course, discussing 2 more episodes of Sliders. And this week it is To Catch a Slider and Dust. But before we get into it, a little bit of by the way.
Just a little bit. iReactions was posting on the sliders.tv forum again about the episodes that we put out and everything. And he really liked the character of Captain Tom Beckett from The Return of Maggie Beckett, the hard-nosed general. He liked the way they interacted together and whatnot. And it's like he said, it's just a matter of taste. I maintain, it was good. Like I said, it was good, but I would have loved to have seen just a general that was just less of a general, like opposite of what you've seen all over the place, you know? And then to see how Maggie would have dealt with that, because she knows exactly how to deal with this general, because that's who she grew up with, someone who's just like that, you know? This guy is apparently just like her father. So her and him going at it, you know, head to head, she was able to deal with her feelings and he was dealing with his feelings, and they sort of worked it out. I thought it would have been a neat twist just to have him to actually be her inspiration. And how would she also deal with that? Because then she's holding these feelings of anger against her father, but then she has to try to come to the understanding that he's actually a nice, loving father. He's not like her father. So it's like not just like the normal feelings she has for her father that she has to deal with. She has to deal with a lot more. She has to deal with the fact that, wow, this guy is actually a good dad. How do I reconcile that in my brain? Because he's always been just a complete jerk to me. I thought that would have been interesting.
I totally agree with that aspect of it. I think it would have been more interesting to really switch up the character and, make him that nice, inspirational guy rather than the hard-edged, cliche general. But, you know, everybody's going to have their opinions, and I can see why iReactions can like the character. I mean, it's not like he was a terrible character. We just kind of felt that he was a bit too cliched and that maybe the story could have developed a bit differently if it was that reverse. So, yeah.
Yeah, it was still a good episode, though.
Yeah.
Definitely liked it. Yeah, definitely liked the episode.
All right, well, let's get into our first episode discussion today. And the episode is To Catch a Slider. And we have a teleplay by Bill Dial with story by Chris Black and Bill Dial, and directed by Peter Ellis. And this originally aired on January 14th of 2000.
Remy, Quinn and the professor must have talked about this thing. Do you remember anything of what they said?
Oh, geez. Never understood much of what they talked about. Just accepted that they knew what they were doing.
Come on, Remy, think.
Scarabs.
What?
There was a lot of discussion about scarabs. We even ran into a giant mutant one in the pyramid.
Insects. We're gonna fix the timer with insects.
Scarabs were also jewels, and jewels, like any crystalline matter, are a 3-dimensional structure composed of atoms that repeat identical structures throughout the unit.
Which means?
Which means they vibrate, sometimes at very high frequencies, almost as if they're alive. Aha.
Would you mind sharing that aha?
Well, I'm getting a vibrational pattern in the crystalline range. It's very weak, but it's definitely in that range. This element is a direction finder. It matches up dimensional vibrations. Looks as if it's worn out or broken.
You know, this looks a lot like one of those living gems I saw in the store downstairs.
Yeah, that movie star was wearing one.
Can one of those fix the timer?
Well, there's definitely one way to find out.
Our sliders begin by suffering a rough slide due to an erratic and overworked, underpowered timer. And so, on the next world they end up in, Diana decides to finally take it apart and figure out how it works, resulting in the discovery that this Egyptian timer is powered by a scarab gem that is no longer working at full capacity. Luckily, the sliders have slid into a movie festival at the Chandler Hotel where a collection of unique gems are on display. They have two choices: buy one or steal one. Due to Remy's urgings, the group forgoes a host of movie-style break-ins, opting instead to bank on Mallory's new role as Hollywood actress Monique Mansfield's arm candy. A plan is devised involving Diana bypassing the hotel security so Maggie and Mallory can break into Monique's safe, but it goes awry when a second burglar shows up, attempting to rob the jewel as well. The plan is foiled, but a new one is quickly hatched as it turns out the man Diana had a date with is actually a cop hired to protect the living gems, and he wants Diana and friends to help him catch the burglar. A second plan is devised which almost fails, but Diana opens the safe just in time to see a hand coming through a drilled hole in the back. They quickly grab it and discover it belongs to Monique Mansfield, who, while being the world's most successful cross-dressing performer, is also finding his career on a decline, and thus decided to try and scam the insurance company out of money for the stolen gem. Luckily, Diana had put the gem in her purse and not the safe, so it was found safely and then given to the sliders as a reward for recovering it, enabling them to power up the timer once again and safely slide.
Hello.
Remy, it's me.
It's Fog Boy.
Where's he been all night?
Where have you been all night?
It's a long story.
Yeah, well, tell it.
Tell what?
Before I could get out the window, the other burglar decked me. Then when the cops came in, I had to hide in the bedroom. Pretend I was Monique's entertainment for the evening.
Whoa, back up. There were cops?
There were cops?
Yeah, you think they were onto us?
I don't know.
Where is he now?
Well, you see, after the cops left, before I could get out of there, Monique got back. Naturally, she thought I was.
He spent the night with Monique.
What?
It's not what you think.
It's not what we think.
Whatever.
Oh, listen, you gotta get on back here now. We only got 24 hours left and no jewel.
That's a little tricky.
How's that?
Well, Monique has decided I'm part of her entourage now. Doesn't want me out of her sight.
Monique wants him to stay.
Well, tell her you got something to do.
Tell her you...
I heard. You see, another part of her entourage are a couple of prize baby bulls whose job it is to make sure that I don't get out of her sight.
Oh.
What?
Well, you gotta do what you gotta do.
By the way, that guy Diana had a date with last night is a cop. Where is she right now?
She's having breakfast with him.
What?
Alright, so a few bits of trivia here.
So there's basically just one deleted scene here that iReactions sent us, and it's all about when Mallory first goes to Monique's room. In the original, he was going to come in and there was going to be a tanning bed in the middle of the room, like a portable tanning bed, and like he goes over to it and I guess he knocks on it and she pops up, you know, all in her bikini and everything, and she says something like, I know you're probably wondering why there's a tanning bed here. I just didn't want to go down to the pool because there's so many people down there, and you know, I just wanted some private time, stuff like that. You know, it's kind of like, you know, and then the scene continues pretty much just as it was in the original one with her saying something like, you know, tell me all the things about you that'll impress me and make me want to do naughty things to you or whatever.
I'm surprised they cut it, man. That would have just padded the episode nicely.
Well, exactly. So, yeah, you know, just a little bit more with that. I mean, it's really not much different than the main one, just a different entrance for her.
They couldn't afford a tanning bed.
Right. Exactly. Couldn't get one in there. And then the other information here comes from Temporal Flux. Basically, Peckinpah wanted to do a heist episode. He said, we want a heist episode, so let's get that done. Someone write that. And of course, they didn't have much budget because they were saving for the big finale, you know, which they keep saying, you know, like that's why they cut back on all these episodes with effects and like, you know, I guess special guest stars or, you know, sets and everything. But we never get that big closing finale, you know? So it's like the money, like what they do with the money. Basically, Bill Dial and Keith Dameron decided that they needed to make the sliders steal something to fix the timer. That they came up with the idea. This is how we're going to do it. You know, this is how we'll do the heist episode. They have to steal something because the timer's messed up. And that's where they came up with the idea for the crystal inside the timer. Because, you know, if it was just batteries, you know, they could just go down the corner and buy some. So it had to have something come up, and that's why they got this crystal idea. And the episode actually does reinforce Temporal Flux's idea of where, you know, Remy was saying how he wanted to go back home. He was lamenting not being able to get back home, and we were wondering why, because they have the coordinates in there, and Temporal Flux had the idea that maybe one of the ideas that they were going to do was try to go backwards through the coordinates to find his home. This kind of reinforces that because they say, don't worry, Remy, with each slide we're getting closer and closer to your world. You know, that idea was in there, it just wasn't fleshed out completely.
Right.
And early drafts of the script said that the coordinates were going, like there were going to be lines in the early drafts that said the coordinates were going to be stored within the crystal. So,
Right.
yeah, and rather than that crystal being the source of power, it was like more like a data type thing. So swapping the crystal out would get rid of the coordinates. So, yeah, so they cut all that stuff out of there. So it doesn't really make sense why they can't get back to his world.
Interesting stuff.
Yeah.
That's some good trivia for this one, yeah. All right, well, wasn't too much, so I reckon we might have enough time to squeeze in a quick impression.
Let's do it.
All right, cue the music.
Sean Connery and Bobcat Goldthwait walk down the street.
You know, if more worlds were like this one, we could probably open a trans-dimensional travel agency. Make a lot of money.
Yeah, mild weather, friendly people, any kind of food you want. Snow on the mountain and sun on the beach. I think they call it California. Not my California, but it's close.
They stop outside a shoe store where Kermit the Frog and Alan Rickman try on shoes.
Yeah, Kermit says we're getting closer and closer to your world with every slide.
You couldn't stay here, you know. I think the women here are as fine as it gets.
We made a commitment. We find your world, then we take care of ourselves.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I think it's genetic. Do you know any other man who obsessively tries on shoes?
Well, there was this drama in Portland.
How long have they been in there?
Sean looks at the timer.
Well, this is the only time that matters.
The timer is counting down fast.
Oh, man.
What is it?
I don't know. I've never seen it act like this before.
The timer starts counting down from 25 seconds.
I thought we had another day here.
Me too. Kermit, Alan, we've got to go.
And scene.
That was a good one.
Very good.
That was a good
Yeah.
back and forth there between
I
Sean
know.
and Bobcat.
The new buddy cop, Sean and Bobcat.
Sean and Bobcat. Sean and Bobcat. What will they do next?
There you go.
The burglar went in the adjacent suite, cracked a hole in the wall, and went in the back of your safe. It's pretty clever. That's the weakest part.
Yeah, Diana's timing is our strongest part.
Well, it's a shame we didn't recover the Star of La Paz. There's a $100,000 reward, and you people surely deserve it. Now, it's funny, we suspected Monique Mansfield ever since the Cannes Festival. There were 2 Living Gems thefts there, and then 2 more at the Venice Festival.
Yeah, but what I don't understand is why would a rich movie star need to steal jewelry?
And why would they want to break into their own suite?
Well, probably part of an insurance scam. He'd steal his own gem and then file a big claim with my company. I mean, as you may have noticed, Monique has quite a large overhead, and, well, his career hadn't been going so well lately.
Did he say he? And his?
You didn't know? Monique Mansfield is the most successful cross-dressing performer in the world. Where has he been?
Yeah, that's what I'd like to know.
Anyway, I think people are starting to get tired of his act. That's probably why he turned to burglary.
That explains the punch.
In all the confusion, I almost forgot where I put it. I was afraid the thief might get away, so I put it in my coat pocket.
I hope you'll be staying in town long enough for me to buy you another dinner.
After we get the reward.
Of course. I'll have a check cut at once.
You know, instead, I think I might like one of those living gems for my very own. One worth about 100,000. Think you could arrange that?
It's unusual, but sure, why not? You cracked the case.
I swear to God, we just talked about movies.
All right, well, let's get into our discussion of To Catch a Slider.
All right.
So, the time is on the fritz. We're getting a bit of continuity here.
Yes.
The time is, it's not right.
It's not.
Yeah, I mean, we speculated about this, where
Yes.
they're going to resolve this issue with the timer, and
Right.
geez, lo and behold.
See, now when I was watching it, and remember the other episode, they said, maybe the batteries were low or something like that. I was like, okay. And when they came up with this idea in this one about the crystal, I thought that the crystal was going to be the source of power. That's what it is, right?
Yeah, well, that's what I figure, yeah.
That's what I figured too. Because in the information that iReactions sent, I think he was basing some of it on the fact that the original scripts had the crystal being a data type thing, because he said they didn't really resolve the whole batteries idea, the whole power thing. But I think they meant, like, at least in this rewrite, and what we finally got, I think they meant to indicate that the crystal is going to be the source of power going forward instead of plain old batteries.
Well, it could be both, I guess. Maybe it has a dual purpose.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Both things. But, yeah, because he said something like, they didn't resolve, they brought up the batteries in the previous episode, but then they didn't resolve the whole batteries thing. But I think they discovered when they opened it up that the crystal is going to be actually the battery type thing.
And it does differentiate this Egyptian timer from the one that Quinn made.
Exactly. It's a whole different,
It does the same thing, but they've built it differently. It's not, at the end of the day, the same thing.
Exactly.
Really. Yeah.
So maybe the original timer had batteries, but this one has a crystal.
Yeah. I like it. It's a good explanation, And I'm happy that we are getting this continuity
Yes,
with the timer.
exactly.
It's put me in a good mood. Thank you for actually doing something that is making me feel good.
There you go.
But the effects were really good too, because they slide and they come out in this world and the vortex immediately opens up again and sucks them back in and then drops them out. And I just, I thought it was just a good way to sort of display what's going on here, that there is really something going on.
Right.
So just that quick cuts of sliding in, getting sucked back in, and then all that stuff.
And then it gets stuck inside. They're just hanging there.
Yeah, which, that kind of really goes nowhere. Because
Right, it doesn't,
we cut to the opening montage, come back, and they're just sliding out of the vortex, and you're like, okay.
Well, on the on Earth Prime, they sort of made the comment in the review that the timer actually starts acting just like an actual VCR remote control, because it fast forwards, it goes backwards, it pauses. It's kind of a neat way to look at it. Maybe that's since it's malfunctioning, it's actually starting to act like a real controller. It sent them out and then it rewinded them and took them back in. I was like, that's a neat way of looking at it.
Yeah, no, I can go with that. And then, I'm going with this episode. I think it's doing pretty well, But then, of course, we're going to get to these living gems, right?
Right.
And it's one of those things where it's like, it's awfully convenient.
Oh, yeah.
They sort of notice these things, and Maggie's fascinated at looking at these diamonds and things, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah. And then, of course, Diana wants to open up the timer, and when she does, oh, what do you know? There's this diamond thing here.
Exactly.
And we need to get something to replace it. Oh, man, we saw some 5 minutes ago when we were walking.
Exactly, yeah. I just thought it was so out of character for Maggie to stop and just stare at the diamonds. Like when she saw them in the window, she's like, did you see the size of that rock? I'm like, ah. Now, I could see that. I could see that being weighed for sure, because she's like that girl next door, and she probably dreams someday of getting married, and meeting Mr. Right. So I could see her looking at those rocks and think, wow, those are huge, But like for Maggie, I think she could care less. Like, you never got that impression that she was into like big diamonds and things like that.
And it is a little bit of padding here with that.
Yeah.
Like, we could have accomplished the same thing just by having this film festival going on and the celebrities there with the living gems, because that's a big part of it. We didn't need the added thing of Maggie having noticed them, and then they could have just said, oh, well, these celebrities are here, and here are these new gems that have sort of hit the market in the last few years, and hey, look, now there's somebody here who's selling them,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was a little bit of padding, but it's getting a bit of good grace from me on this one, because like I said, this has been pretty good so far.
So you're going to be the good cop this episode. I'll be the bad cop. Okay, I got it. All right, we got our roles defined for this one. Okay.
But they check in at the Chandler, and we've got Gomez too again.
Yep, we got him back.
Well, they call him Calhoun this time. Actually,
They do, yeah,
named
Gomez
him.
Calhoun.
Yeah.
But like in this one, he has a different accent than he did the last time. It was slightly different.
I think this episode might be a bit progressive for the transgender and gay scene, because he sort of had like a bit of a, gay inflection to his voice, the way he talked.
Oh,
and then,
okay. Yeah,
of
I
course,
can see that.
The reveal of Monique at the end being transgender. I'm like,
Right, yes.
Sort of Sliders season 5 getting a bit progressive.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they find out that there's this film festival in town, and the big celebrity there, Monique Mansfield, which I thought was funny. She's flirting with Mallory, but yeah, it made me think, of course, of Jane Mansfield.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what they're going for here, being that they've called this one To Catch a Slider.
Right.
And, there's this film festival and stuff like that, and it's a heist thing. So I think they're really trying to relate us back to those early, like, Hitchcock heist films, especially like
Right.
To Catch a Thief and stuff like that. So.
Well, yeah, and she's definitely, or he, I should say, he's definitely supposed to be like a blonde bombshell, like Jane Mansfield, all those stars.
So yeah, it's working for me. They're getting in my good graces anyway. Just with these simple little drop things and references and stuff like that. They're doing all right.
Right.
So they find the jewel in the timer, and of course we get the whole thing about these living gems. So they head out to the jewelers and learn a bit more about them, and they find that these are measured in hertz rather than carats like a normal diamond, and they actually find them to be quite expensive.
Yeah, just a little bit. $81,000.
$81,000 to get the one they need, so not going to be quite good. But I don't know, I thought this was an interesting idea. I don't know, how do you feel about these living gems, like the way they explained it and everything?
Well, at first, when they opened it up and they saw the gem, I was thinking, what? I mean, why would Quinn have a gem like this in his timer? Then I remembered, wait, this isn't his timer. This is the Egyptian timer. Mm-hmm. And I'd forgotten about that. Like, I completely I passed over what they were saying about, well, this is from a different culture and da-da-da. And I didn't, understand why they were talking about that. But that was to remind us that, yeah, this is not the original timer that we started with. So because I completely forgot. I was like, ah. And after that, I was like, well, all right, whatever. Fine. I'll go along with it.
I have to say, I thought the same thing. I thought, these are the same technologies. Like, did Quinn's original timer have one of these? If so, how would he afford something like that?
Exactly.
If it even existed on our Earth, who knows?
Yeah.
But they even kind of explain it away too, saying, these living gems seem like a suitable substitute, but are they the same thing? We're not sure.
Right.
Of course, by the end, that they're going to get it, they're going to put it in, it's going to work. That's the only way this can resolve. The other one is burnt out, it doesn't work, so all they can do is, get this living gem, and
exactly.
We know it's going to work, so.
Yep.
The thing is that, can we have a good time getting to that place?
We'll see. We will see.
Yeah, Mallory sort of gets in with Monique a bit,
Mm-hmm.
and they kind of think maybe we can steal hers.
Right.
Going back to that Remy thing of well, we'll just do it, and then we'll slide out, and nobody will be the wiser. We can't get caught for this if we're in another dimension.
Now, I felt weird about this episode because, I don't know, Remy, all right, he didn't have much to do, really, okay? But I just felt and I'm not an expert, I'm not a, professional actor or anything like that, but I felt that something about his delivery of lines in this episode was very strange. It was just a little bit off for me. There were a couple times I was thinking that he sounded like first season Remy, a bit more lighthearted, goofy. There was just something there that I was like, I don't know. I didn't like it. I didn't like the delivery of lines that he was given. It just seemed very just out of, not the way he is in current episodes.
No, I know what you mean. He doesn't have a lot to do here. Mallory gets a lot of play, so does Diana.
Right. I don't know, there's something about the way he's just talking, when they're on the street and he's just I wish I could think of an exact line, but it's the delivery of lines that he's talking about. He's like, I don't know. It's kind of like your impression of Remy, It's not like our impressions are supposed to be comical, They're not supposed to be
caricatures.
Dead on, yeah, characters. They're not supposed to be dead on accurate. But I felt like he was kind of doing a character of himself in this episode. It didn't feel like the Remy that we come to know, who has become hardened over the course of the series. He just sounded very just like, I don't know, just different to me. I can't put my finger quite on it. I just know that I was like bothered by the way he was delivering his lines for pretty much the whole episode.
It's a shame.
Yeah.
Maybe taking you out of the episode a little bit.
Well, exactly. That's what it was. Yeah, that's what it was. It just didn't feel like, how it's been lately.
But, in the meantime, Diana meets a guy in the bar called Grant Curtis, and he kind of introduces himself as like an expert on the living gems, like a salesman of sorts, and he invites her to dinner. She wants to take that opportunity to, I guess, maybe learn more about them, possibly even figure out how they can get their hands on one to save them from having to steal one. And then the name also, Grant Curtis, kind of stuck out to me as well. Cary Grant, who was the star of To Catch a Thief.
Right.
And, of course, Tony Curtis, who was a very well-known actor and father of Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah, see, I hadn't caught that when he introduced himself, but then seeing what you said about it, I was like, oh yeah, that makes total sense.
I'm a big fan of those old movies, so
yeah.
After Monique Mansfield kind of stuck out to me, I was keeping an ear out. So yeah, when I heard his name, I was like, Cary Grant, Tony Curtis, has to be.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, so that was pretty cool. But Mallory starts really getting in deep with Monique.
Getting in deep. Could be literally if they didn't make the distinction later on.
But I thought it was a pretty funny scene. He's pretty much turned into a little lap dog and he has to put on the Speedos.
Oh, yeah. Those bodyguards she has, they don't let him out of her sight. Like he just has to be there when she wants him.
Yeah. But it pays off because he finds out that she can't actually wear her gem to the opening night because of insurance problems, which, I don't know, kind of seems counterproductive. Like she wore it into the hotel checking in.
Exactly.
That's like the extent of the use she can get out of it. Like,
I know. I thought that
why
was
would
weird.
you buy one of these if you couldn't wear it to big opening night premieres of your movie?
I know, exactly. That's when you want it, when people are going to definitely see you and be taking a lot of pictures, and
exactly.
It was strange.
So it is a bit strange, but hey, it's a plot contrivance, but still, I'm going with it. I'm fine with it. They need a reason why the gem is in the hotel room and why nobody else will be in the hotel room at the time they can go and steal it.
Right.
So this is as good a reason as any.
Yep.
And it also does set up the fact that if it's stolen, then she will get insurance because she's following the rules.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So, yeah, when somebody else tries to steal it while they're trying to steal it, I kind of leant towards maybe she was trying to steal her own diamonds.
Yes.
I was kind of 50-50 on it. I was like, I wouldn't be surprised if it turned out to be her at the end.
Yeah, I was too. Yeah, I was like, I think it could be her. And then as it got closer and closer, I was like, well, it can't be anybody else because they haven't introduced any other people.
Yeah.
It's got to be her.
Yeah, exactly. But, Diana nervously goes on her date with Grant.
Right.
And she excuses herself at 8:30 to go and access the main computer so she can reboot the system.
Yes.
Just like Windows 95.
Yes. Did she reboot it? Because they don't show her rebooting. They show her like entering passwords in and stuff like that. Like I never saw a reboot. I didn't hear the the ding, that whole thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, you didn't really follow through on that, but okay, hey, you got in.
Yeah, it's also one of those things too, because she's like, if I reboot it, then I can just put in my own code for the save.
Right.
And everything, and it'll work fine. And it's like when you see in movies, when there's like an electronic door that requires like a card swipe or a code put into it.
Yes.
And people just pull out a gun and shoot it, and the door opens, and you're like, man, if you just destroy that lock and it opens, what's the purpose of having this electronic lock? You think the opposite would happen if you did that the door would seal itself up so people can't get through it. So, yeah, it's one of those things where I was like, man, if that's like how you can get into a safe, like, it shouldn't be that hard for people to break into, like, all the saves everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Well, now let me ask you this, because this part I was confused by. And they didn't follow up on it, and there's no clear indication. When Diana walks in to that, restaurant with Grant, and especially because I watched with the captions on, you can, you see that the people in the restaurant are sort of whispering, about the two of them walking in. They're like, who's that? Da, 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 da. And someone says, do you know who that is? They never really followed up on that. Like, were they talking about Diana? Were they talking about Grant? Who were they talking about there?
It's a weird thing. I guess you could maybe say, like, everybody was looking at her because she had the big living gem.
Right.
But I actually thought that was weird, that Grant was like, oh, I want you to come to the premiere with me, and we're like the biggest, most expensive living gem ever.
Right.
As bait for the thief to come in. And I'm like, you just met this woman.
Right.
And you're going to give her the largest, most expensive gem ever found and created.
Yeah, that is weird. But see, what I'm talking about, this happens before she has the gem.
Oh, really?
This is the first date. This is the first date. And, like, he meets her there, and they walk in together. And, yeah, because I went back and watched it because I wouldn't be sure. And, yeah, they're whispering about who is she. And it's not till later that she gets the gem. So I was I was trying to figure out, like, I thought what they could have done to explain this is maybe on this world, Diana's double is a movie star. And they could have had, like, one of her posters up in the Hotel Chandler to indicate, you know, this would have been a little better padding, I think, to have seen them stop at, like, a poster and say, oh my gosh, look at Diana, you're a star on this world, you know? And then when she comes down with Grant later for the first date and they walk in, then it could have been like, oh, look, is that Diana Davis? You know, the star of da-da-da-da? I think it would have been neat.
It would have made more sense that we know you as a respected celebrity.
Exactly.
So will you help us out with this trap that we're setting?
Right. So, yeah, it's just weird that the people were like, who is that? Do you know who that is? I was like, yeah, I know who that is, and she's nothing like, you know, celebrity-like, so I don't know why you guys are wondering.
You could think that maybe it's a remnant of a rewrite or something like that, but as far as we know, because we get these early drafts and information from my reactions, that doesn't seem to have ever been written anywhere. So.
The other thing I thought of was maybe it's just the fact that they're both so dressed up that they just assume that it's someone. You know, that it must be someone important because look how put together they are. You know, we're just little poor schlubs here sitting eating, you know, but look at them. They're got makeup on, their hair is done, and all duded up. So, yeah, I don't know. That's what I was thinking. Maybe that was just what they're referring to. Yeah, because the whole, you know, you wear this, wear this most expensive living gem ever comes a little bit later.
Yeah, interesting. I can't say I noticed, but yeah, it's bizarre.
Yeah, see, it's after he reveals that he's not a seller of the living gems.
Yeah, he's like an insurance cop.
Yeah, so in this case, you know, in this early scene, it was before that was revealed, and they were just like going on their very first date. So yeah, that's why I was like, that's weird. You know?
Yeah, very bizarre.
Who do they think she is, or who do they think he is? You know, I don't know.
Yeah, but of course, you know, the heist doesn't go very well. Because there's a second burglar. There's this weird conversation on the phone.
Oh, yeah.
With Remy and Mallory and Maggie sort of like looking on, trying to like find out what it is that they're actually talking about. And they do like a three-way cut of the screen and everything.
Like, I get what they were going for. It just didn't work for me. And like, Maggie was like, I don't know, her acting right there and some other parts as well, when they're on the rooftop later. Her acting just seemed over the top to me in this episode, you know, especially the phone thing where she's like, what is he saying? Ah! You know, like, it's like, dial it down. Dial it down a little, Maggie, you know, a little over the top.
It's a weird homage to just throw in on this episode. Like, yeah, I don't get it. It just seems very misplaced, doesn't it?
I know what they were going for because I've seen it in movies before. That exact sequence, you know, that type of style, but
the split screen on the phone and stuff.
Yeah, and like one person can't hear the other person, so it's back and forth and da-da-da, you know, it's like when they have someone like in the middle and they're on one phone with one ear and the other phone with the other ear and they're talking back and forth, you know, that type of thing. Yeah, it was weird. It didn't, I don't know, something about Maggie's delivery. Like, again, with Remy's delivery and Maggie's delivery, this episode, I'm just like, I don't know if it's that Remy just has sort of given up, you know, Clavant has sort of given up. He's like, well, just a few more episodes left. I guess I gotta get the paycheck, you know?
Get my last paycheck and then I'm
exactly. It's like, I don't know, like, he's been so hard-nosed, like in Requiem even. He was so intense, you know? And so, like, his delivery was perfect, you know? And then you got this one where he's just like back to season 1, Remy. I don't know, like, hey, you could always stay on this world. The women are as fine as ever. You know, like that. See, there's a line right there that just, from our scene that we did. It's like, that just doesn't sound like the current Remy that we know.
And the other thing too, because remember I said last week that, Tom, you had sent me a message about that weirdo exposition extra.
Yes.
This week I get another message. What the hell? Remy's calling Mallory farm boy still. What is up with this?
Exactly. Oh my gosh. Exactly. He answers the phone and he says it. He says it specifically.
It's farm boy.
It's farm boy. What? No, it's not. That is not farm boy. What are you talking about, Remy?
Yeah, so weird.
And like no one says anything about it. No one's like, what do you mean farm boy, Remy? That had to be something he just threw that in. Like that can't be in the script, right?
Yeah,
You know?
who knows? But yeah, they go through with this plan to sort of lure out the thief. Diana, yeah, she shows up with the gem on, and then they adjourn to the hotel room where they can put it in the safe. Sort of flaunt it so the thief knows it's there, and then the thief knows that we've put it away in the safe.
Right.
And of course the thief does attempt to break in through the adjacent room. Very stealthily, somehow manages to get away into the back of the safe.
Yeah. This...
Not an ankle grinder or drill bit or anything is ever heard.
Right, exactly.
It's very strange.
What I thought was weird was that Remy and Maggie are across the street again on the rooftop. See, again, this is just weird. Remy miscounted the windows for this very important thing.
Oh, twice. He did it for both times he was up there.
Right. And so he relays the information that, the thief is in there, and so they go in, and when Maggie realizes it's the wrong room, and she's next to him, and she's like, it's the wrong room. And he's like, I miscounted the windows. I told you it was the wrong room. He never thinks to tell Grant, oh wait, it's the wrong room. It's the next room over. Like he doesn't relay that information to Grant. He has the earpiece on. He could just say, wait, miscounted. Go to the next room.
Yeah.
It's like, and Maggie's just delivery there. She's just so over the top. I told you it was the wrong room. Like I expected her to hit him on the head or something, like a newspaper, like, you idiot, boom, it's the wrong room. Like
try to poke his eyes out and he
right, exactly.
Cuts her off with the hand between the eyes.
I know. I'm like, what is going on? I'm just telling you, if you watch it, if you look at it, like their delivery this episode, the two of them, is not what we've had the last couple episodes. I'm just being bad cop.
You're being bad cop, yeah. But yeah, by this point, no surprise, it's Monique. They do this weird drop line thing where Grant's like, his insurance and his career was going downhill and stuff like that. And Mallory just is stunned.
Why do you keep saying his?
And they do this whole bit, the reveal of Diana just put the diamond into her purse and everything because they were going to steal it. That's
right.
How they were going to get away with it. But she turns it back in. And they do that whole thing about the reward. There's a $100,000 reward. Well, how about instead of the reward, we can just have the diamond? All's well that ends well. But then, after all that's played out, it cuts to Mallory, who's just like, we just talked about movies, I swear. He's still dwelling on it.
That was good. That was a good little
I thought
scene.
that was funny, yeah.
But I was thinking, I was just stuck on Grant. I'm like, boy, this guy is not a very good cop, I don't think. He's going to accept that Diana did not put the gem in the safe. Okay.
Yeah.
She's the last one who had it. Now it's gone. They've caught the real thief, but the diamond's still gone. He's not thinking, that's odd, you know? And then when Diana brings it up and says, oh, I forgot. It was in my purse. He doesn't think, oh my gosh, she's a thief.
It is a weird thing because she does say oh, it took me a second to remember where I put it. Which was the jacket pocket of the jacket that was hanging next to the safe. And I just remembered that's where it was.
I know. It's like, oh, well, we're going to cut you a check right away.
Yeah, a little bit flimsy, really.
I mean, not to mention that he gets the Sliders to help him with this plan, who he doesn't know. He doesn't know these guys. They're friends of the girl that he, was interested in. But it's like, come on, man. This is your job. This is, this is $100,000. I don't know. I thought it was odd. Very odd.
But, they get their living gem, fix up the timer, and they're out of there. So that's how it ends. At the end of the day, I don't know. I let this one slide, as it were.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, yeah, there's a lot of plot contrivances. It wasn't particularly well written. There is like a lot of stuff that's just awfully convenient, but I kind of like the tone of it, and I like the idea and the continuity of the broken timer and sort of resolving that. So I let this one go. I kind of like this one.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't awful. I don't know. Like I said, that delivery of Maggie and Remy, of Carrie and Clavon, just did not, something about it just did not work for me. I found it much different in the next episode. You know, their delivery, like this, to me, when you compare this episode to that episode, just them two, just their two Carrie and Clavon, when you compare their acting in this episode to the next episode, it's way different. You know, this episode, maybe they were trying to go for a more lighthearted thing, obviously, but it just didn't work for me. I like the story idea, not bad. You know, I like they concluded, you know, the previous episode with the timer acting weird. That's great, but something about their delivery just annoyed me.
And now it's time for another episode of You Said What Now? With Mallory.
I don't know. Sweet cakes. They look expensive.
This has been another episode of You Said What Now? With Mallory.
Let's get into our second episode discussion today. The episode is Dust. We have a teleplay by Tim Burns and Bill Dial with story by Chris Black. Directed by Ronaldo Villalobos. New directors, man. They keep bringing new directors right at the very end of the series. So weird. Mm-hmm. This originally aired on January 21st of 2000.
I'm sure you're going to be very interested in our research, Doctor. We've uncovered what we think is an ancient, but apparently a very advanced civilization. You care to have a look?
Why not?
Huh? All right, this way. This is Gwen Palmer. She's one of my best students. And sort of the head wrangler on this dig.
I don't think the natives are all that friendly.
Were they mad at us or the diggers?
Funding on a project like this is always tough. The locals cost a fortune, and you can't get volunteers to work in the bad ones.
Oh, I like it already. Must be 20 degrees cooler in here.
We think this was some kind of communal gathering place, perhaps even some kind of religious shrine or meeting place.
Is this what I think it is?
Yeah, I think so.
Chandler Hotel.
We find our sliders traversing a rocky desert to finally find sanctuary with a group of students and their forensic paleontologist professor who have discovered an ancient ruin. When the sliders join them, they discover the ruin is none other than a 400-year-old Chandler Hotel, complete with a 400-year-old timer. Diana explains that due to rotational differences between Earths of different dimensions, this Earth could have progressed quicker than our own, thus explaining the ruins. While the sliders continue the dig to try and figure out how a timer could be there, and if the owners of it are buried somewhere nearby, the local inhabitants revolt against the professor and leave, claiming he is disturbing sacred ground by trying to get to the inner tombs and wanting to dissect a frozen body he found. Remy, agreeing with the natives, finds himself on the wrong side of a ruin when the professor imprisons him and the sliders for not going along with his plan. The sliders escape and find themselves face to face with the natives, who call Remy the Voice and reveal that they have been worshipping him ever since they first discovered his belongings in the ruins. They all face off against the professor, forcing him and his students to leave, protecting the ruins for now, and further enforcing the inhabitants' belief that Remy is a god as the sliders slide out right in front of them.
We're through!
I think it's the tomb.
I think you should go first.
Legends that the Tolucans who lived here had a great hoard of gold treasure. The Spanish conquistadores were after it, but they never found it. My theory is They were buried with it.
Serious, we should close this up and go far away.
We have encountered some of these booby traps before. Very primitive.
Professor, what is it?
Amazing.
Looks like some kind of suspended animation. Maybe frozen.
Are you familiar with this technology?
I've read about it, but I've never seen anything like this before.
This is a technology that was lost in the Cataclysm. There are hints in the saga of the Telukans about a frozen deity, but it was always considered mythical.
This is no myth.
That guy's over 400 years old?
And someone very special to have been so carefully preserved. I think we may be in the presence of royalty.
Okay, so just a little bit of extra trivia here.
Yeah, no deleted scenes because they didn't have a script for it. But the episode, and I thought this when they first started out, was filmed at the Vasquez Rocks, which is, of course, famous for like Star Trek, episodes where Captain Kirk fought the Gorn out in Los Angeles there. And like when they first showed up, I was like, that looks familiar. I think it's that place. And that's what it was. In interviews, all right, now this is just ridiculous. Bill Dial said that he was excited about this episode because it gives him a chance to criticize archaeology. Mm-hmm. He believes it's absurd for archaeologists to claim that they could be sure of how previous cultures and civilizations lived based on just remnants and artifacts. So, these people who have trained to do this, it's ridiculous that they can do that. It's so dumb. Let's criticize it, So, wow. And I guess iReactions did some research to see if Dial, ever studied archaeology or tried to read up on archaeology, anything at all about the profession. And like he said, nothing. There's nothing on, there's no reason. Why does he hate archaeology so badly? Like he's such contempt for the field that it just, let's criticize it. There's no way they could tell what the whole, civilization was just from a piece of a pottery thing. So there you go.
That's a very odd thing to have stuck in your craw.
I know.
Really.
Imagine, he must have hated Indiana Jones,
How dare they dig up these people and their civilization and have conjecture about how they lived by their stuff. That makes no sense.
I know.
Okay, yeah. No, that's just, that's put me in a foul mood.
Oh, he's back to bad cop, folks.
God damn it. A stupid thing to say.
Well, maybe this will put you in a better mood.
Since we got that stupidity out of the way, we have more than enough time for a quick impression.
All right.
Cue the music.
Remy, Arturo, Kermit the Frog, and Christopher Walken walk through the desert.
I know it's not fair, but I personally blame Kermit for this.
What did I do now?
Ever since you joined us, we've vortexed into Toxic World, a Cro-Mag world, a couple of War worlds, and a world of corporate giants. Literally.
Yeah, those guys were big.
That didn't sound like Arturo. Anyway, keep going.
And now, this, the ecosystem. The ecosystem. I can't do it. I'm still sounding like Christopher.
You did? I know. I was gonna...
I'll get it out.
A little higher pitch, maybe.
The ecosystem of Southern California is actually a desert. It accounts for the temperature extremes between night and day. I once read that every tree in San Fernando Valley is imported.
And now for our final game of Double Jeopardy, where the questions are even tougher. Oh, man!
Well, if it had to be a desert, why not a desert resort? Golf course, swimming pool, drinks inside of coconuts, hot and cold running maids.
And scene. What are hot and cold running maids?
I don't know.
What does that mean? They said that in the episode. I was like, what the hell is that?
I know.
Hot and cold running maids.
I always put on the captions on Netflix, the subtitles, so I Make sure I'm getting it right. And yeah, I do not know what a hot and cold running mate is.
Now that reminds me, I forgot. I meant to write it down, and I didn't write it down. So now I can't remember if it's in this episode or the last episode. Remember when we said, Remy says farm boy? On the captions, it didn't say farm boy. It said fog boy.
Fog boy.
Yeah, it said fog boy.
And that's relevant how?
I don't know. I have no idea. I'm not sure if, like, what I'm thinking is, I think he meant to say farm boy, and he probably did, but maybe just like I do, I trip over my words, and whoever was doing the captions thought he said fog boy, and they wrote in fog boy as well. It was in, it was probably last episode.
Even I don't remember. The subtitle is giving up.
Like, whatever, fog boy, okay.
Fog boy.
When I first saw you in the camp, I couldn't believe my eyes. Your story has come down through generations. Some believed you were coming back, some didn't. And when the professor broke through to the burial chamber and desecrated the tomb of the Guardian, it became clear that you had been sent back to us to help us restore it and preserve the sanctity of the shrine.
Look, there's been some kind of misunderstanding. I told you before, I'm just a guy like you.
You are the voice, the one who sang of the old time, the harbinger of the new times, the return of the land to health.
Pretty good billing. If I were you, I'd go for it.
Look, my friends and I are lost. The professor and his people, they took us in, and in return, we helped them with their work. Until we found out what that work really was. When we tried to stop him, he locked us in this, what you call this burial chamber.
The violation of the tomb of the Guardian is only the beginning for the professor. I know he intends to go on to the chamber of the shrine. This must not be allowed to happen. You will lead us.
Whoa, wait a minute now. I don't intend to lead anybody anywhere. You've got the wrong guy.
Do I? Feed them. Give them water. And the voice will lead us into the chamber to defeat the desecrators.
All right, well, let's get into our discussion of dust.
Yes.
So Maggie's angry with Mallory again.
Mm-hmm.
And she's using the term vortexing in.
Your favorite thing.
God. But she's like so annoyed with him, like he's some sort of like jinx or curse on them.
Right, yep.
It's weird.
It is weird.
Because they're stuck out in the desert for 3 days till the next slide. But fortunately enough, they do come across this paleontology dig.
Mm-hmm.
Where they run into this guy whose name is Professor Jack Bigelow.
Right.
And we've seen this actor before in Sliders, Ken Jenkins.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
He was Robert Clark, the brother of Isaac Clarke.
Mm-hmm.
In the Revelations episode.
I completely forgot that.
I don't think we talked about him much in Revelations, really.
Because he was barely there.
Yeah, you know. But he sort of came like to a bigger role a little bit after this with Scrubs.
Yes.
So, you know, it was good to see him again. He's an alright actor. He's pretty good value.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I don't know how I feel about him in this episode, quite frankly.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
We'll get to it.
Yeah.
From the beginning here, he kind of offers to let them stay as long as they come and help out with the dig because he's having some trouble with the locals who are helping him out. So, yeah, he's almost happy to have them there, really.
Yeah, exactly.
And we get introduced to his student who's kind of like, I guess, like a TA or something like that. She sort of organized this thing for him. Her name's Gwen, and I recognize her. She's actually an Australian actress. Her name's Elizabeth Lackey, and I know her. She was in, there's an afternoon soap opera here in Australia called Home and Away.
Okay.
You know, it's not like daytime soap operas that are on like middle of the day. This is like, you know, it's on at 6 or 6:30 at night, and it's been running for like 30 years now.
Right.
It's like that kind of show, and she was on that. A lot of Australian actors actually got their start on Home and Away. People like Heath Ledger and stuff like that. So it's actually, you know, it's a good starting point for Aussie actors here. But
yeah, I'm just looking at her IMDb. She hasn't done too much though.
No, she hasn't. The other thing I recognize her from though is this great show,
Sliders. Oh, sorry.
It's another show about parallel universes.
Oh.
Right? Here in Australia, there's a big culture of kids' TV that was Australian produced.
Okay.
And a lot of it was sci-fi based, and I watched a lot of it when I was a kid. But she appeared in this one show called Spellbinder, which was about these kids that stumble upon a vortex to another dimension that is ruled by these people called the Spellbinders. And they harness the power of electricity to make themselves appear godlike or something like that.
Right.
It was a really great show. Ran for 2 seasons.
That
And
sounds
she was
cool.
actually in that show, yeah. So, yeah, you know, I've kind of got a bit of a history with this actress. But it's if you can get your hands on it, Spellbinder. But the first season was exceptional. The second one kind of fell apart a bit. But yeah, it is available on DVD if anybody ever wants to track it down. It is quite an interesting show.
Yeah, I'm looking it up. That's cool.
Yeah. But anyway, back into the episode.
Yes.
They go into this dig site and find it to be dun 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 the Chandler Hotel.
Of course. We're never going to get away from the Chandler Hotel.
What do you reckon? How do you feel about this?
Well, you know, I mean, I like the explanation that they give, why it's the Chandler Hotel and why it's so old. You know, because they've used this explanation before, back in the Guardian episode with Quinn, about why that world was so far behind, well, not so far, but like, 10 years behind where they were. And that's how Quinn got to see his younger self. So it's time travel, but not really time travel. So it makes sense that this episode would, you know, have another similar idea, but instead it went the reverse way. It's ahead of us instead of behind us. So I like that. I like that idea. Yeah, I have no problem with that. Not really.
The thing that I got confused about, because, you know, they find a timer there.
Right.
And they figure, oh, we must have had alternates that came here, but like 400 years earlier.
Right.
I thought they were going to come up with some sort of weirdo time travel thing, but they don't really resolve that, right?
No, they never resolve it. They don't know anything, you know, the timers, that whole storyline is just done. Nothing's ever solved about it. And I thought, I was thinking that maybe they would come up, like they would find themselves, their bodies, you know, somewhere in the tomb, and, you know, but that was just like an extra little, not quite a red herring, but just something like that where it's like, oh, here's another mystery, but, you know, we're never going to solve it. It's not part of the story. It doesn't matter. You know? But yeah, I kind of wish they had done something with it. And I still wasn't thinking time travel. I was just thinking that, you know, this was just another group of sliders that ended up dying here in the cataclysm, whatever that was, you know, whatever happened, you know, they could not leave or something.
It made me think that, you know, if these sliders from 400 years ago went sliding, they would have come across like a lot of primitive worlds.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
They would have just found it odd that, like, every single world is so primitive in comparison to their own.
Right. Well, again, if we go by the theory that there are infinite worlds, maybe they are sliding among worlds that are all caught in that same effect of, you know, quicker rotational, you know what I mean? Like maybe since that's where they started out, maybe that's where they spend the majority of their slides on similar type worlds. Like, remember how Diana said something about, you know, like, oh, this world's almost exactly the same except for a few small differences, you know, because that's where they started out on. Maybe that's what this group of sliders did. They slid around, you know, to worlds that were similar to theirs and that their rotation was different.
I don't know. I just don't think it was fleshed out enough. So it kind of left me a bit cold on that whole thing.
Yeah.
This world that they're on, it's pretty low tech. It's like they've reverted backwards, which, you know, it's a bit of an old trope these days, but I guess maybe at the time, 2000. I mean, Jules Verne did it with the Time Machine. You know, futuristic people who have actually, sort of gone backwards from technology.
Right.
So, yeah, you know, it's a bit of a cliche. I thought it was kind of funny, though, because, you know, they're finding beer mugs and...
Yeah, that was funny.
Like, oh,
very
it must
amusing.
be some sort of ceremonial chalice. And what is this thing? You know, it's just a parking meter. Like,
exactly.
What would it do? Why would it have numbers on it and rotate? Who knows?
Yeah, no, I like that. That was funny.
And, of course, they're suspicious of the sliders. They've come up with this flimsy excuse.
Right, very flimsy. We're just from a secret government project. Of course you are. Everyone is, you know?
It's good to see that people aren't always buying this, you know, like the old Canada thing that we used to talk about. Like,
yes.
People actually questioning what's going on here. They go the opposite way. They said they're from Mexico this time.
Yes. Let's go the other direction. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a strange thing that they get to this, what they call like a ceremonial chamber. We've broken through the ceremonial chamber, and they find this cryogenic suspended body.
Mm-hmm.
And like later they kind of like say like, this isn't even part of the hotel. This must be the building next door.
Yeah.
I don't know. They don't get into who this dude is either.
No, he's left hanging. But I think that's the point with this. You know, it's just like they think, like the paleontologist thinks that this is some very important person. Like he said, you know, probably royalty, but in reality, he's just a Joe Schmo that, you know, probably had money and just wanted to get preserved or whatever. So I think that's the point. He's not supposed to be anybody at all. He's just supposed to be a normal guy.
I don't know. It just doesn't seem fleshed out well enough because
Right.
Bigelow wants to take him out, thaw him out so we can do an autopsy. They kind of disagree. There's these natives that they call the Packers.
Right.
And they don't want to do it either. They think that's you're gonna curse it, you know, in like, you know, an Egyptian tomb kind of way.
I don't have a problem with Bigelow wanting to take this body out for an autopsy or whatever.
Maybe he's just doing his job.
He's just doing his freaking job. You know,
Yeah.
It's like, this is what he is trained to do. And our Sliders are like, nope, I don't care. You're not going to do this. We're going to stop you. I don't care if it's
Yeah.
your job. It's like, what business do you have, man? I mean, this...
Leave this archaeologist to his business.
I know. This is his job. Like, I thought that was, that's what bothered me. I was like, what the heck? He's just doing what he was trained to do. There's no problem here. It's just that we need drama.
Yeah, it doesn't really gel together because, you know, he decides he's going to like guard the body overnight so we can do the autopsy in the morning. And then he gets knocked out and then the body's back in the cryotube and stuff.
Right.
And I guess I assume that it was the Packers that did that. They knocked him out, put the guy back in the tube, but they don't really say that.
Yeah, they don't make it clear.
Yeah. It's just, it's as if it's almost like magical.
Oh, yeah.
He ended up back in the tube, you know, like some sort of, cursed mummy or something. I'm like, it's really not working for me.
Besides, like we said, it's just weird that they're stopping him from doing his job. EarthPrime.com reminds us, you know, like they're sort of like crucifying, you know, Sliders are crucifying Bigelow. Like, I can't believe you're going to just dig this guy up without permission, without the government knowing, you know, but Earth Prime reminds us that the Sliders have dug up graves before. They've disturbed remains, you know, it's like, who are they to judge? You know, like pot, here's the kettle.
It's also an extreme reaction from Bigelow too.
Yeah. That's where it goes off a little bit.
Pulls a gun and he's like, put them in the quote unquote tomb thing. Let's just lock them in there while I do my autopsy. Yeah. And they have this like weird cut to him later where he's like trying to hold the gun on them and do an autopsy at the same time. And it's like, like a 10-second shot and that's it. Of him like keeping all these students hostage. I'm like, again, that just really goes nowhere.
Yeah.
It doesn't make a lot of sense.
Well, it doesn't make a lot of sense when he imprisons them, right? And they're like, we need to escape. We need to get out of here. We need to get water. I'm like, you're sliding in less than a day. Do you think maybe you could just hang out for, you know, the next, 14 hours?
Catch up on your sleep.
Yeah, catch up on your sleep, take a nap, you know. I mean, it's just 14 hours. You're not going to die. It's like, come on. You don't need to escape.
Yeah. I mean, that's not like dying of thirst time. Like,
right.
You can go 14 hours without a drink of water and still be pretty okay.
Exactly. Letting them escape enables them to meet the Packers.
Yeah, this guy who was like looking Remy up and down, real weird.
Yep.
And delivering him secret messages or something about whatever. Is like, you're the voice. I knew it when I saw you walking to camp.
I know.
And they got this big shrine to Remy. Yes. And stuff. And you're like, what the hell is this? It's, I don't know. They treat him like he's Jesus or something.
They do.
Like
the second coming.
Yeah.
Yeah. The thing is, like, so this world is from 400 years ago. The Chandler Hotel is from 400 years ago. They just kind of like the Great Cataclysm destroyed enough that they think that this guy is the voice, like the second coming, like we said. What kind of cataclysm could have like erased stuff from their minds? You know what I mean? Because they just sort of like think that he's a god. But I mean, I don't know. It just seemed odd to me that they just like forgot everything. Because what kind of world was this before the cataclysm?
Yeah, was it just a regular world?
Because they would understand parking meters and beer mugs, I would assume, right?
Right. Yeah.
So like, yeah, that part doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me that they would worship, Rembrandt when they see his posters that say appearing live, here's my CD. Like they would get that he's not a god. He's an entertainer. Did they not have entertainment on this world 400 years ago? Like, I don't know. Like, I'm confused about the whole timeline.
And it's probably going back to that thing in the trivia about Bill Dial wanting to poke fun at archaeologists. Like,
exactly.
Look at this stupid archaeologist. He finds a beer mug and thinks it's some sort of ceremonial chalice.
Yes.
Ah, what an idiot. Archaeologists are dumb.
Yeah, I know. I mean, 400 years ago, in our world, in the 1600s, I'm sure they had some sort of entertainment.
I mean, I've seen documentaries on like Pompeii and stuff like that, and they're
Right.
like, unearth, living quarters and things like that, and they just say like, this is the regular people, and this is where they make bread or whatever. And,
Right. Yeah.
they know how people lived. Like they're not
Right.
like, in some sort of like hovel, and they're going like, this place must have been where they worshipped gods and
Right.
blah blah blah. They don't mistake things for stuff like that.
Exactly,
It makes no sense.
And they have a lot of evidence on Remy that he's just a singer. He's just a performer. There's no record of his like miraculous healing abilities or, his great leadership. He's a singer. They found, imagine if they had found like the CDs, of like Marilyn Manson, or, Justin Bieber for that matter, Instead, they just happen to find Remy stuff. And so now he's their god. They could be worshiping one of those guys as their god as well,
Yeah, because this part is the worst, the absolute worst. Because at some point during his wanting to autopsy the body, he's also breaking through to the quote-unquote chamber of the Guardians.
Yes.
And he busts through, but they arrive just in time to stop him.
Mm-hmm.
But, hey, Remy can go in because he's the voice, and the voice can do whatever he wants. So Remy goes in, and the place is full of candles, pre-lit.
Yes.
All good. Electricity's still going. There's like
Mhm.
lamps and lights and stuff on the wall. They're all good. They're still
Yeah.
working. There's his caddy, and everything's all set out like it's like Elvis's costume and stuff from
Mhm.
his live shows and stuff. And
Yep.
man, what a dumb reveal.
I know. Exactly.
So dumb.
Yeah. And you ask the question, how are the candles even lit?
Immediately, as soon as I saw them, I'm like, who in the hell lit those candles? Nobody's allowed in there.
Well, I'll let you know that later on, someone in the Messages in Time gives us the answer.
Okay.
So stay tuned.
Whoa. I'd love to see the explanation for this.
Yes.
No, it is stupid. Absolutely stupid reveal. Made no sense, and I hated it. And
Yes.
it's like they wanted like Remy to feel better because he's been a bit down and out about wanting to get home and stuff. So
Exactly.
let's do an episode where he can get his caddy back and
Mm-hmm.
feel good about himself because in this world he was famous or something. He's like,
Yep.
no, go away. What a pile of shit. That's just ruined the whole freaking, like, it wasn't the best episode to begin with, but
Right.
by the end I'm just like, what a piece of shit.
Yeah. Well, like we said, it exists purely for Bill Dial to make fun of archaeology.
Not cool.
Is it permitted?
Anything is permitted to the voice.
You guys want to see what all this trouble was for? There wouldn't be any,
It's safe.
Onslaught Records. That sounds right.
Wow. This is like the Hard Rock Cafe, literally.
Was this your ride?
His alternate ride.
Come on, guys. Let's let the man have a few moments alone with an old friend.
Alright, well well, let's get into messages in time.
All right, so for this episode, when Maggie tells Remy to go with it, this one person said, when Maggie says that, go ahead, just be the voice. Why not? It reminded them of Ghostbusters when Venkman says, if someone asks you if you're a god, you say yes. I was like, that's a good point. It was very much like that.
That's funny. I like it.
And they said, when did the Sliders become the arbiters of morality? Weren't they just last week acting as jewel thieves? So, exactly. It's like, come on. He's just doing his job. Leave him alone.
Leave him alone.
Yeah. And I thought this was funny because the guy was, the one poster was like, so that guy, he was just a frozen guy. I was hoping for something more meaningful, but it never materialized. And I was like, that kind of sums up a lot of the Sliders episodes this season. Hoping for something more, but just not there.
That was this whole episode too. Just everything they did, you're just like, that's it.
I know. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Wow.
So, and here's the answer you've been looking for. Who the heck lit the candles? And the guy says, maybe they're those birthday candles that just never go out. No matter how much you try, you try and blow them out, they just keep going. So this world had a special technology.
Wow.
So on these forums and stuff, when you do, it's appropriate for you to put in case someone hasn't seen the episode yet, spoiler warnings. And so you put in like a bunch of space, or put a bunch of dots, so that they have to scroll so they don't see, what the spoiler is. And so this one guy's spoiler, filler, all right, it says, spoilers for Dust, you know the drill. And then he puts the 10, 9, and then he puts in, hey, let me warn you, if you've not watched this episode, give it a pass. 8, 7, really don't watch it. 6, 5, I mean, seriously, stink, stank, stunk. 4, 3, oh, okay, I was just kidding. Go ahead and make every effort to catch up on it. 2, snicker. 1, and then he posted his review of it.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah. All right. So forward to Catch a Slider. A lot of people didn't like it, and they said that Windows 95 security thing was laughable. Who would have security like that? You just reboot into safe mode, and you can bypass. No.
Exactly.
And then they said, like we said, Diana didn't even do what she said she would do. She just did some password stuff. Say be consistent. With what you said.
Yeah.
That's not their strong point. They said Mallory's reaction was perfect, the best part of the episode, like we said. Remy was dispensable, didn't do too much. They said it looked like someone used a plot generator to make this episode. It was just so generic. So, there you go.
Tick, 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 tick.
Yeah.
Diamond heist.
Exactly.
Tick, 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 tick. Film festival.
Yes.
Tick, 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 tick. Time is broken. All right. Write a script.
They said, now I kind of agree with this. This would have worked good in season 1 with Arturo playing the Remy role, Remy and Quinn being the thieves, Wade being the femme fatale. I could see that. That would have been interesting if like Wade was the Monique part, but not with the cross-dressing thing, obviously. But like Arturo being Remy would have been perfect because I could see Arturo sitting there in the chair looking at them as they're planning this heist and saying, I'm sorry, I thought I was watching a movie. It's like, yeah, he would have been perfect for that part, because, season 1, Remy would have been, like, oh yeah, let's do it, because that's his character. He was like very much into that. So yeah, it could have fit into season 1, I think.
Yeah.
And then for Quinn, like, it would have been neat to see him, like, Wade comes in all like, movie starred up and he'd be like, oh my, and then he spends time with her. Better days. Doesn't it make you feel, you look back like, oh man,
Miss those good old days.
I know. Someone said, this is not that bad compared to the usual episode of this season, which is not a great endorsement, really.
That's pretty much what I said. I mean, it was fine in comparison to a lot of the shit that we've gotten in season 5, so.
Right.
Could have been worse.
And then they said, well, the good guy, Grant Curtis, they said, in this case, the good guy has about as much smarts as a used firework. So there you go.
Yeah, he didn't turn out to be too smart by the
end. Nope.
All right, well, next week's episodes, man.
This is it.
At the end.
The end.
The end of Sliders. The final 2 episodes are Eye of the Storm and The Seer.
Yes. Eye of the Storm. I sort of know what The Seer is about because I remember trying to watch it but not understanding it because I hadn't watched any really of season 5 at all. So I know that season 5 the final episode has something to do with there's a part of it. I don't know if this is the whole thing or if there is a part of that final episode where there is a TV show that they're watching, and it's the Sliders TV show.
I kind of remember that.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think it has something to do with an all-knowing guy, like a person who's like, I don't know, like a...
Oh, like he's like... Yeah, no, okay, yeah, I remember. Something about, like, he's been, like, following them through their journeys, like, through visions or something. Yeah.
I'm not sure who that is. I don't know if it's a new character or if it's Dr. Geiger, because we haven't seen him in quite a while. But for some reason, I thought that he comes back into it somehow, so... Maybe I'm thinking the Eye of the Storm somehow reintroduces Geiger or this guy who's going to be in the Seer, like the actual Seer, and somehow, this is like how they lead into the Seer from Eye of the Storm. I don't know if or maybe Eye of the Storm is something about a tornado. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not even going to venture a guess.
Yeah.
This week.
Yeah, I mean, it's just because I know, like I said, I know that little bit of the Seer, and I'm not sure how that plays into it, but Eye of the Storm is, I'm thinking it must lead into it somehow. The final 2 episodes must somehow lead into that final story. I don't know.
Yeah. We'll find out.
Well, we will, and that's not all. By the way, everybody, there's going to be a little special segment in our final Sliders rewatch episode. We'll have another special segment in addition to Eye of the Storm and the Seer. So you'll find out about that next week.
Yeah, really looking forward to it.
Yes,
we were kind of worried that we're going to end on a down note, so we
did
want to do a little something extra at the end to sort of maybe boost morale a little bit more.
Yeah, boost morale, leave us going off on a high note, and bringing us back to the feelings of the good old days.
Yeah.
But for now, that's it for this episode of the Rewatch Podcast. Keep up with listener interaction by liking our Facebook page at facebook.com/rewatchpodcast and follow the show on Twitter at rewatchpod. You can also visit our webpage at rewatchpodcast.podomatic.com, which has some of our favorite links there, such as Dimension of Continuity, earthprime.com, and the active forum over at sliders.tv.
And you can always write us an email or record a voice message and send it to the rewatchpodcast at gmail.com. And also, if you've enjoyed the show, please consider giving us a rate and review on iTunes. It's always very helpful. And you can help support the Rewatch Podcast by heading over to patreon.com/rewatchpodcast. We can make a monthly contribution as little as $1 and really just helps us keep the lights on around here.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, thank you for joining me again this week, Tom.
Yep.
And I will just say, until next time, I hope it's not another parking meter. Forget it.
We gotta slide.
The Rewatch Podcast is not associated with NBC Universal, St. Clair Entertainment, Fox, or Sci-Fi Channel. The use of any and all copyrighted material is only for parody, news analysis, critique, or educational purposes, as provided in United States Code, Title 17, aka Fair Use. Music provided by Kevin MacLeod at incompetech.com.
Copyright 2016, The Rewatch Podcast.
Sliders.
Hi, Rewatch Podcast listeners. I'm Corey.
I'm Tom.
And I'm Nathan.
First off, let me say that we have all had a blast doing the Rewatch Podcast. Every week, we put out another episode for free for you. And although we enjoy these discussions with each other, we truly do this for you guys out there in podcast land.
That's right, Corey. But we are here today to tell you about Patreon. Every week, there are costs involved in podcasting about film and television, including hosting and bandwidth charges, our own personal internet usage, and film or show rentals and purchases. So, we're asking you to become a Patreon supporter.
If you can afford as little as $1 to throw our way per month, it would really help us keep the lights on. And if you want to send $100 our way every month, we wouldn't turn that down either. But it's your choice, and we appreciate the support you bring.
As always, we strive to bring you the best quality shows we can create, and we hope that you enjoy them. So head on over to patreon.com/rewatchpodcast to become one of our patrons and show your support for the Rewatch Podcast.
And if we get enough patrons, we may even be able to produce exclusive content just for the supporters in the form of simply getting episodes before the main feed release, or even bonus film discussion episodes as a thank you for your support. The website again is patreon.com/rewatchpodcast.
Thanks, everyone.